So, how does climate change relate to the heat and the fires we've seen around the world this summer? Finally, a Nobel Prize-winning economist weighs in on American democracy's decline. But first, here's my take. I went to see Christopher Nolan's new movie, The Odyssey, to watch a summer blockbuster, and it more than delivered. I did not intend to comment on the various controversies around the movie, from the attacks that it is woke to the historical inaccuracies in it. For goodness sakes, it's a nearly 3,000-year-old yarn that is filled with gods and goddesses, one-eyed giants, and lots of magic. But Ezra Klein's commentary on the movie did lead me to think about the broader issues the movie raises, which strike me as interesting and important. Klein argues that the critique of Nolan's Odyssey as woke, because he casts a black actress to play Helen, is trivial and superficial, but that the movie is liberal in a more profound sense. Nolan fundamentally inverts the morality of the ancient world in which conquest and victory was celebrated unabashedly, and replaces it with the morality that is more nuanced. While Homer's Odysseus was constantly lauded for his clever, guileful ways, Nolan's Odysseus is haunted by the ravages of the war and by his own deceit that was at the center of the victory, the Trojan horse. Beginning with Christianity, the West gradually replaced the pagan ethic of naked conquest and domination with one centered on universal human dignity, compassion, and empathy. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth, says the Gospel of Matthew, words that no Homeric hero would ever utter. Pre-Christian values are having a revival these days, as the populist right, often joined in by a new cadre of tech billionaires, look back with admiration to an older world in which strength, domination, and victory mattered more than empathy or equality. For Donald Trump, winning is all that matters, justifying all means. He uses the word incessantly. In a 60 Minutes interview in 2018, when asked about his demeaning comments about Christine Blasey Ford, the woman who accused Brett Kavanaugh of sexual assault, Trump said simply,
"We won. It doesn't matter. We won."
In a best-selling book, Suicidal Empathy, Gad Saad, one of Elon Musk's favorites on X, argues that the West is declining because it cares too much about too many outsiders, minorities, even its foes. In fact, the greatest moral achievement of the West over the last 2 millennia, and especially since the Enlightenment, has been the expansion of the circle of people who are considered fully human, having equal dignity and equal rights. We've come to recognize the humanity of people once dismissed as slaves, serfs, and second-class citizens, foreigners, women, racial minorities, people with differing sexual orientations. These ideas spread throughout the world because they are, in the words of the Declaration of Independence, self-evident. This is one of the West's greatest achievements, not a decadent sickness. But there is a serious critique buried beneath the crude MAGA attacks. It is one that Nietzsche leveled, and it's being reprised by some of the tech bros today. Nietzsche worried that Christianity's egalitarian ideas made us less likely to be wildly ambitious, risk-seeking, even reckless. Have we become so humane that we've lost the primal urges that made us heroic? We should not romanticize civilizations built on blood, gore, and conquest simply because they produced heroes, but they built more than that. The pyramids, the Gothic cathedrals, the voyages of discovery, the Industrial Revolution emerged from societies animated by ambition, confidence, and a willingness to sacrifice. They often came with hierarchy and a single-minded focus on greatness. Some of populism's appeal today lies less in specific policies than a promise to restore national greatness, to build, to achieve, to win. But must we choose between greatness and goodness? After all, Western nations in the 19th and 20th century were the most liberal societies in human history in their day. And they were hardly timid. They built railroads across continents, abolished slavery, industrialized the world, rebuilt Europe and Japan, landed men on the moon, built the atomic bomb, and created the internet. Think of America in the mid-20th century that created the modern welfare state, defeated fascism, built highways and airports, battled communism, and began to dismantle the legacy of slavery. These were civilizations of immense ambition. Liberals should not apologize for believing that every human being possesses equal dignity. The great liberal democracies of the 19th and 20th centuries managed to expand our moral universe while also expanding our physical universe. The challenge is to recover that older liberal tradition. This spirit will sorely be needed as we build out what may be the most transformative technology ever, artificial intelligence, because we will need to make sure that not only is it awesome in its power, but also that it is rooted in a system of ethics and values that prizes human dignity and equality, just those values that Christianity pioneered and the West enhanced so powerfully. We don't need to go back to Homer. Recovering the spirit of Franklin Roosevelt would be enough. Go to FareedZakaria.com for a link to my Washington Post column this week. And let's get started.